and welcome to Nan Loves Food. I am here today to answer the question, can you make gluten-free pasta in the Instant Pot? Well, it's one of those things that being gluten-free, you know, you see all these amazing recipes, and a lot of times you can convert things and sometimes you can't from a gluten-full recipe to a gluten-free recipe. And there is a little caveat here, because the answer to the question, can you make gluten-free pasta in the Instant Pot? The answer is yes. However, it doesn't always turn out. So I would highly recommend specifically the Barilla brand. This is a particularly good one. There are certain brands that don't hold up as well. I think that has to do with the contents. So if you've been gluten-free for a while, you'll probably know that gluten-free pasta can be made of a variety of flours. So there's brown rice pasta. This one is corn, I think. Corn and rice. So that seems to hold up a little better than some of the other pastas do. So just keep that in mind. For me personally, the rice pastas don't work out nearly as well in the Instant Pot. I've had a lot of issues and a lot of gumming. And the worst thing you can do is overcook gluten-free pasta. It's absolutely terrible. So specifically the Walmart brand, I have never had it work out. So just keep that in mind when you go looking for pasta. Generally the corn ones are going to hold up better in the Instant Pot because there's just a little more hardiness to that flour, a little more holding on. So, well, that wouldn't be a very interesting video if all we said was, yeah, you can cook the gluten-free pasta in the Instant Pot. So I'm going to share with you my absolute favorite, super duper easy recipe for mac and cheese. So being gluten-free, it's one of those things where, you know, macaroni and cheese is just, you know, food of the gods. It's some of the best, you know, carb, warm, comfort food. Just absolutely love it. So there's no reason that you need to give that up just because you're on a gluten-free diet. There are really, really good ways to make it, and specifically with this one, you're never gonna have an easier recipe than the one I'm about to show you. I have fed this specific recipe to tons of folks who eat gluten, and they all love it. They don't even notice that there's a difference. So to me, that is the hallmark of success in gluten-free cooking. If your gluten-eating friends don't even notice that there's a difference. So it's really just 3 to 4 ingredients, depending on what you wanna do. So the pasta, I have elbows here. You know, the traditional shape, but I've also made this with other fun shapes too, like the rotini, the spirals. I always like mac and cheese made with those. We have a can of evaporated vitamin D milk. So a lot of people don't use this product, and quite frankly, before I got my Instant Pot, I had never used it either. But this is basically just milk. So there's milk, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce this, but carrageenan and vitamin D, some sort of potassium. So if you can read the ingredients there. So there's just not a lot to this, but what it is milk that has been evaporated. And so that makes it creamy and delicious, which is everything you want in your homemade macaroni and cheese. We also have some really good cheddar. So it is important when you're picking a cheese for macaroni and cheese to have something that isn't pre-sliced. So specifically the shredded stuff that you buy in the bag from the store, that is often, they put a powder on it to try and make sure that it doesn't stick together. So that affects your cooking because then it doesn't gel together like you want it to when it's actually cooking. So we use shredded cheese in our household, nothing against it. We put it in eggs, you know, all kinds of things. But there are certain instances like macaroni and cheese where you definitely want to do the work and grate it yourself. And I'll show you my trick for not losing the nubs of your knuckles on a box grater, because I don't do that. It's a wonder that I have any knuckles left because of box graters trying to grate that off. So I'll show you my trick there as well. One hack for this that I've definitely done before if you're looking for a shortcut and you're feeling super lazy, I have often, rather than grating it myself, will go to the deli or go, you know, sometimes they'll have outside of the deli just the prepackaged deli cheese slices that they've already sliced, and they'll just have them in a little baggie for you that you can pick up. That does not have the anti-caking agent in it, or at least not as much as the shredded stuff. So you can go get a couple of different varieties that way. So that's a great way to do like a 4-cheese mac and cheese, because you can get a couple of pieces of provolone and a couple of pieces of cheddar, Munster, whatever, you know, or pepper jack, you know, depending on what kind of mac and cheese you want to get. It's a really good way to get a bunch of little bits of cheese that you don't have to sit there and grate, because that's a total pain, and I know it. The 4th optional ingredient, I will not be using it today, but you absolutely can, and it certainly enhances the flavor, is chicken stock. So we're just gonna use good old-fashioned water here to boil our noodles, but chicken stock, it does add a little something to it. So if you've got some chicken stock or veggie stock on hand and you want to use that as your liquid in your Instant Pot, that's a really valid choice, and it really can add, especially like a good bone broth, can add some additional fat and creaminess and deliciousness to your mac and cheese. Not that it will need it, it will be totally fine without it. So let's get in here. So this is my secret to not grating your fingers off with a box grater. This has been my ride or die for a long time. We've been together for a while, but this basically is just a grater. It has 3 different attachments. This is obviously the bigger grater, but it's just a round little grating thing. You shove the food in the top here, and then you put this in to push the food down. And this has saved my knuckles so many times I can't even tell you. I don't know why anybody would use a box grater when this is an option, especially one with such a large opening. So I can easily shove a whole cucumber in there, especially like I'll use this attachment for cucumbers or onions, specifically if I'm pickling onions. This is an awesome thing to have, and then it also comes with one of these. So I'll have the link for this in the description. It's relatively inexpensive. I think it's under $20. So to save your knuckles, a small price to pay. So how this works is we'll just put it on the counter here, and then this is suction cupped. So you'll turn it and suction it to the countertop, and that'll just hold it still while you put the cheese in and do the thing. So we're gonna shove the cheese in here and crank the handle, and out comes delicious, freshly grated cheese. No extra skin or blood required. So once we're done, we'll just pop this out of here like this. And this is super easy to clean. It's dishwasher safe, and you don't have to wash all of the pieces every time. Just obviously wash the ones that had the food in them, you know, touching the surfaces. So sometimes, especially with a stickier cheese, it will get a little jammed in there, but we're melting, so who cares? That happens on box graters too if you get them too full. So you can always tip it up and dump cheese out if you're worried about it getting stuck. But we're gonna have a lovely little bit of cheese grated and ready to go. Yum! Okay, so the question you're probably asking right now is, okay, I know that I can cook gluten-free pasta in my Instant Pot, but how long do I cook it for? Well, the trick is you want to take a look at the back of your box of pasta and see what it says. So this one says for al dente pasta, boil for 7 minutes while stirring. So the trick is you want to divide the number that it suggests, so in this case 7 minutes, by 2. So we'll go ahead, and then if you need to, round down. So we're gonna go ahead and set the Instant Pot for 3 minutes. And if you're not super familiar with the Instant Pot, it does take some time to come to pressure, and then it will cook for 3 minutes once it's come to pressure. Then we'll do what's called a quick pressure release. So we'll go ahead and click the little valve once that 3 minutes is up after it beeps, and that will let all the steam go up, and from there we'll make the rest of the mac and cheese. So right now I'm just gonna add some salt and some water to the pot. I'm usually not super careful about how much liquid I use because I can always drain it off. So, you know, I just put in what I feel like is right, and go from there. You can always take liquid out before you start adding your macaroni and cheese ingredients, but you do wanna make sure that the water is very good and salted, because that's the only way you're gonna get flavor inside the pasta. Okay, so I put about 1 inch of water, maybe a little bit more than that, in the bottom of the Instant Pot. This is a 3-quart. I really like the 3-quart, especially because it's just the 2 of us. We don't really need to make you know, enormous roasts or anything with any sort of regularity. So the 3-pot is my everyday situation. But I've got just a good probably tablespoon of kosher salt. I'm just gonna drizzle, you know, put it in there, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pop in the entire 12-ounce box of pasta. I'm gonna give that a little stir. Just want to make sure that the majority of the noodles are covered with water. I might actually just add a little bit more just to make sure that all my noodles are covered. Don't want any dry noodles. Okay, all my noodles are covered. Put on the lid and get going. So on this model, it is just the pressure cook button, and we're gonna go down to 3 minutes and let her do her thing. We're good to go. All right, the beep just went off. It's time. Woohoo! All right, so check that out. So the pasta looks absolutely beautiful. Yum. So it's a little sticky in there, but you can see we used just the right amount of water because there's not a bunch of excess at the bottom. It's actually empty. Do be careful doing this because it is hot. But you can see that the pasta is cooked, but it's also not mushing together, so we're right where we need to be. We also know all that salt got absorbed into the pasta, which is what we wanted to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump in my 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, just right on top. One of the reasons I love using this for macaroni and cheese specifically is because it's shelf stable, and so we always just keep a can on hand, at least one, so I can always make this in a pinch. So it's pretty pantry friendly. So like this plus a side of broccoli is for us a really delicious weeknight meal that I can throw together in, you know, a little bit more than 3 minutes. Okay, so we've got the evaporated milk in there, which is looking awesome. And then we will just dump all of our delicious cheese. And it's really important to just go ahead and stir that in while the pot is still very hot, because it will just do everything you need to melt that. So you really just don't have to work very hard at all, which is my favorite kind of cooking. When food is ridiculously delicious and I didn't have to do a whole lot to make that happen. This is that kind of mac and cheese. That was an 8-ounce brick of cheddar cheese. And then, you know, a box of pasta and a can of sweetened condensed milk. It doesn't get a whole lot easier than that, but you can start to see the texture on this. Do you see how creamy that's getting? Holy. So like I say, this plus a side of broccoli is like the perfect mac and cheese. Now, if you want to take it the extra step and toss it in a pan and throw some breadcrumbs on top and broil it in the oven, that's fine. My husband actually doesn't like that at all. He wants his mac and cheese just like this, which is way easier for me, so that works for me. So there she is, all plated up. I finish her. I just grabbed some fresh chives from the patio. So I'm just gonna finish this with a little fancy chive. You cut chives on the bias, people think that you're fancy, even if you're not. And while the chives do add something to this, they are not a requirement by any stretch. I just like the little pop of green and a little bit of fresh. It's a very rich dish. All that cheese and cream. And then I also just finished with a little cracked pepper. There you go. Mac and cheese. Gluten-free, delicious. Does not get any easier than that. So there it is, the most delicious gluten-free mac and cheese you will ever taste, and it is so good and so easy. 3 ingredients, 4 if you want to be fancy, 5 if you have a little chive, but no big deal. I usually keep green onions in my fridge all the time, pretty much, unless it is gardening season, which it is right now, and I have some fresh chives on my patio, which I just happened to. So optional, you can also do dried parsley or dried chive if you happen to have that. I will also occasionally finish mine with a little hot sauce, which the hubby also doesn't like, but I really do. So let's give this a taste and see how we did. It is so creamy and so good. And I have to say that that cheddar, it's a seriously sharp cheddar. It just takes it to a whole nother level. You can certainly do this mac and cheese with literally any cheese that you like, any kind of melting cheese. I've made it with blue cheese and chicken before, and done like a buffalo blue cheese mac and cheese. That's amazing. You know, the options are endless, so pick your favorite cheese, but I think a sharp cheddar is a great place to start. Or even a mild cheddar. We really love the Tillamook mild cheddar as well. So I do hope you give this a try. If you do, I'd love to hear all about it. Please put your experiences down in the comments. I'd love to hear how it went for you. It really is the easiest recipe in the world, and it is so good. I love the low effort, high return on my time recipes, and this one absolutely qualifies. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already, please subscribe. We love making easy, delicious, gluten-free food around here. So if that sounds like something that you're into, then we'd love to have you. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.